All right, moving on to topic number 2. Maryland Representative Glenn Ivey has returned to the U.S. after an unsuccessful attempt to conduct a welfare check on Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a 29-year-old detained in El Salvador for nearly 2 months now. Joining us now, international law professor Melina Stereo. Melina, you've been following this very closely. We know just about 6 weeks or so ago, Senator Chris Van Hollen was able to meet with Kilmar Abrego Garcia and do sort of a proof of life, as slightly staged as that might have been. What does Representative Ivey's denial to see him, what does this mean, really?
Well, Representative Ivey traveled down to El Salvador over Memorial Day weekend. That visit had been announced, had been pre-planned, and for whatever reason, we don't know exactly why, the government of El Salvador decided to deny Representative Ivey and his team the ability to visit Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, we do know, has been transferred from the maximum security terrorism prison to a lower security facility, and part of Representative Ivey's purpose as to this visit was to see this lower security facility and to inspect the conditions under which several individuals, in addition to Abrego Garcia, are being held at this facility. These are the individuals who were deported from the United States to El Salvador pursuant to an agreement that the United States has with El Salvador. And so this denial simply means that for now, the government of El Salvador is saying you need to have a special permit to visit, and we're not going to just let every U.S. official come and visit as they please. It is unclear as to how U.S. government is supposed to obtain the permit to visit down there, but what we do know is that the government of El Salvador is apparently willing to say no to U.S. government official visits.
And we've heard from Democratic lawmakers who are going down there saying it's not just about one man, it's not just about Abrego Garcia, but he's kind of epitomizing the lack of due process under the Trump administration, where he was deported to a country where he was legally not supposed to be deported to, even though that is his home country.
Yes, so the whole case has really become representative in some ways of the lack of due process for some of these individuals under the current administration. And so the case is really not just about Abrego Garcia. It's more broadly about due process rights. Abrego Garcia is someone for whom an immigration judge back in 2019 issued a so-called withholding of removal order, basically barring the U.S. government, prohibiting the U.S. government from deporting him back to El Salvador because Abrego Garcia had been able to demonstrate with credible evidence that he had a fear of persecution at the hands of the gangs in El Salvador. And despite that withholding of removal order, which is still in the books as of today, the Trump administration ended up deporting him to El Salvador in March of 2025. The U.S. district judge has said that the government did this illegally and had an obligation to facilitate his return to the United States, and the Supreme Court has confirmed that order by the district court. And so we know that the administration has the obligation to facilitate his return, but the Trump administration has been interpreting the term facilitate his return to mean basically it's up to the government of El Salvador whether it wants to release him or not.
And we've heard from the president of El Salvador that he will not be doing that. So I guess it remains to be seen if Abrego Garcia will ever be released at this point. Melina Stereo, thank you so much for the breakdown. Still a lot of questions on this one.